In the previous video, we looked at how a custom form could be used to define the structure that we want the findings and outcomes of Careworker reviews to take. In this, the final video in this series, we're going to look at how we can add a section to this custom form, which will be for the Careworker themselves to fill in before their review takes place. Perhaps you have questions that Careworkers are always asked during the course of a supervision and would like to streamline the process by giving them the opportunity to answer these questions using the Point of Care app in advance. Let's go back to the example form that's been set up against the DemoCare organization for capturing findings and outcomes of supervisions and add a section to this for Careworker completion. I click Add New Section, provide a suitable label and tick for Careworker completion. Note that this checkbox is only provided for forms that have Careworker review selected here. Now we have a section, we need to add some fields. First, I'm going to add a field asking the Careworker whether there are any training courses that they would be keen to take. The data type of text is suitable here, but we'll probably want to tick Allow multiple entries so that more than one request can be made. The next thing I want to do is ask Careworkers to rank themselves on various criteria. There's going to be 3 criteria, so I'm going to add a field group to provide a good structure for this. So I click here to add a container, provide a suitable label, and then choose Group for the container style. And to this group, I'm going to add 3 fields. Firstly, to ask Careworkers to rank themselves on punctuality. There's a few options I could choose for the data type here. I'm going to choose radio horizontal. And when doing that, I need to provide options, and I'm going to do options from 1 to 10. And I'm going to make this a required field. We'll also ask Careworkers to rank themselves on friendliness. And on professionalism. I'm going to complete this section of our form by adding 2 final fields. First, to ask for general comments, concerns, and feedback. I'll choose HTML. This is a good way to capture multi-line text. And in this case, I'm going to provide some help text to give the Careworker some clues about what they might want to put into this field. And finally, let's ask the Careworker to provide a signature. And that's our Careworker input form section complete. Let's save that before returning to John Coffey's calendar. To be able to demonstrate the new section of our custom form, I'm going to need to schedule yet another supervision for John. I'll schedule John's 3rd supervision for next Monday, giving him a few days to complete his section of the form prior to the review taking place. And now let's log into Platt Point of Care again, this time as John. Notice how, despite having no bookings today, we still see this red box at the top of our Platt Point of Care homepage. This box will begin to appear when we have a review coming up in the next 14 days for which our input is required. In other words, where the review type uses a custom form for capturing findings and outcomes, and that form has at least one section for Careworker completion. I'll scroll forward to the day when the supervision is actually planned to take place. Here's the card for the supervision itself, along with some care duties that I am scheduled to perform on the same day. Notice how the red box always appears at the top of my homepage, regardless of what day's events are displayed below. Don't worry, once I've completed my section of the Findings and Outcomes form, this box will no longer be displayed. When I'm ready to provide my inputs into the supervision process, I can click anywhere on the red box to begin. I will need an internet connection when doing this. And here we again see DemoCare's custom form for capturing findings and outcomes for supervisions, but this time just the new section of that form that I, as the Careworker, am required to complete. And because there's only one section of the form for my completion, there's no need for tabs on this page. Remember this field, asking the care worker to list any training courses they wish to attend? Let's add a couple of requests for John. And I'm going to leave a blank entry here for reasons that I will explain later. I'll give myself a ranking in punctuality and professionalism, but not for friendliness, despite this being a mandatory field. Finally, I'm going to leave some comments and a signature before I save. As I have failed to provide values for some of the form's mandatory fields, I will be reminded of this now, but clicking OK will always allow me to save my progress so far. Back on the home page, I am told that my input into this review is not yet complete, and I can click on the red box again at any time to continue working on the form. Indeed, nothing in this new workflow will obligate your care workers to provide their input into upcoming reviews. Perhaps they will never click on the red box, or they may fail to fully complete the form. If this happens, the person performing the review will need to complete the unfinished sections of the form themselves. Let's see how that will work now. I'll switch back to Platt to see what effect John's partial completion of his section of the form will have here. And the answer? Well, nothing really, at least not yet. We, as the person due to carry out the review, are simply told that the review has not started yet, and that we should come back later to begin recording its findings and outcomes. As I can only see the care workers' inputs into their supervision once the review has begun, I would need to wait until 10 AM on Monday. As I'd like to finish this video off now, I'm going to update the supervision, purely for the purpose of this demonstration, and reschedule it for a time in the past. I'll choose yesterday at 10 o'clock and save. I'll switch back to the current week and reopen the event that we've just rescheduled. Because that event is now in the past, I'm provided with this link to begin recording its findings and outcomes. Here, though the sections of the form for my completion will be initially blank, we already have values for all of the fields that John completed himself. Notice how all of those fields are now locked. I cannot make changes to any of John's inputs. However, any of the fields which John failed to provide a value for, including his friendliness ranking and this blank training requirement, are not locked, so I can complete these fields or tidy up as appropriate. And that's just about it. I'll complete the required fields for my section of the form, and then save. With the value provided for all of the form's mandatory fields, I'm asked whether I am ready to share the review findings with John. The PDF that will be emailed to John if I reply yes to this prompt will include the entire form, including the section that he completed himself and the next steps. Back on John's calendar, we see confirmation that the supervision is now finalized in the form of this green tick. And on the Reviews tab, we see the deadline for John's next supervision is in 18 weeks' time. As that deadline draws near, an alert will be displayed on my homepage if I fail to schedule a suitable follow-up review for John.